Hi guys, Danny here. I've got a really interesting drone for you today. This is a drone that has visual positioning. It also has a micro SD card that you can insert to save your video directly to, which gives you some good quality footage. It also has a full HD camera, so I'm going to unbox this now for you. You can see it comes with some nice prop guards. My initial impressions of this drone were really good. I really like its design and the color. The way that it has kind of that nose on the front, and it's got these little eyes that light up with blue LEDs. This thing just looks really cool. It does feel like it has quite a sturdy build quality. I did actually crash this during my flight test and it seemed to hold up really well, so that's a positive. You can see there's a camera on the bottom which it uses for its optical flow positioning, which basically means it just looks at the ground and it uses that camera to keep the drone steady. It does also have altitude hold and it's controlled using an app, so you don't get a controller with this, but I'll be showing you that in just a second. This drone supposedly has a 6 to 8 minute flight time. I'm hoping it's more towards 8 minutes. It comes with a 650 milliamp hour battery, which hopefully should give us a decent flight time. Of course, you also get your charging cable. What I like about this drone is the battery can be pushed in and you can plug this into the back of the drone and it charges just using a standard micro USB cable, which just makes things nice and simple, as most people already have those. We also get some spare props just in case you damage the ones that you already have. So I'm going to be taking this on a flight test and I'll show you how it performs. I'm quickly going to show you what this thing looks like when it's charging. You have these cool little LEDs on the front where the eyes are, and they glow when the drone is charging and they'll stay on fully when the drone is fully charged. I really like the app that's used to control this drone. It feels really well laid out. It also has a firmware updater so you can upgrade the drone at a later date. You can also see how much storage you have left on your micro SD card that's in the drone. You can also do a quick and easy calibration, so you put the drone on a level surface, hit this button and it will recalibrate the drone. Really nice and simple. I wish more apps did this for the drones they were connected to. Here you can see me using the automatic takeoff feature, which worked really well. As soon as I took this drone off, I was impressed pretty much from the get-go. The optical flow positioning works really well. There is occasionally some hiccups when you're flying the drone really fast around or you have really high wind. It does take a little bit of time to regain its positioning, but for the most part it works really well. You can see here that I'm just hovering the drone, not really touching the controls too much. Here I try out this little option it has, which basically pans the drone by itself so you can get yourself a nice cool little shot. It did deviate here a little bit and it struggled to maintain the same altitude it was at, but for the most part, as I said, you can take your hand off of the controls and just leave it. And for a drone of this size and price, this is pretty impressive. It's not very often I find a drone at this price point that performs this well when it comes to its positioning system, so I've been quite impressed with this one so far. The controls also felt really nice and responsive. There's two different speed options for this drone, so you can set it on a higher and lower speed. The higher speed option felt very good for this higher wind situation I was in. Using your phone to control a drone can always be a little bit tricky. For most smaller toy grade drones like this one, I would recommend having a controller if possible. I'm not actually sure if you can get a controller for this drone. I'll have a look and I'll put a link down in the description for you if you can. One thing that I did find a little bit strange with this drone is by default it's set to some sort of selfie mode that you'll see in the settings. This kind of seems to act like some sort of headless mode. I couldn't quite work out what it was doing, but the controls don't go in the direction that the drone is facing. It works slightly differently. I did turn this off after a little while. I don't think this is a good thing to have on by default because I think this will confuse most people, so just bear that in mind. Go into the settings and put this onto the sort of flying mode and you'll get a better experience with it. There was one point during my test when there was some quite high wind. The drone did seem to get a bit confused and fly off. This only happened once thankfully, but this is in my experience to be expected with these drones that use these downward facing cameras. They can quite easily get confused, but this did only happen once. I didn't need to restart the drone after the crash, which was really nice. I sat it down, I hit the calibration button, which is really handy. This is just in the top of the app on the main screen, and then I hit the takeoff button and I was back in business. So that was nice and simple. You can also see there's a battery indicator on the top right of the display. What was really interesting is this actually seemed a lot better than most of the the indicators that I've seen before. They often will be sitting at 100%, then they'll all of a sudden jump down. This one seemed to be fairly accurate and give me a very good indication of how much battery life the drone actually had left. Once it got a little bit lower, it did seem to drop off a little bit more quickly, but it definitely gets a thumbs up there. The Wi-Fi feed seemed really solid throughout my test. I would give it an A+. I didn't really have any connection issues. I even took the drone a little bit higher up and I tested out the emergency stop button that this drone has. It's really interesting. You'll see the E at the top of the screen. If you hold this down, it will kill the motors, and this is a really nice feature because so many times I've been flying a drone and it will lose connection for some reason and it will start to fly away, and there's no way of stopping it. So having this emergency stop button, as soon as you feel like that's going to happen, you can hold it down and it will instantly kill the motors. This brings me on to another point with this drone. I was really impressed with how high it was able to go while staying stable using its optical flow positioning. So this was really impressive. You'll see me use the emergency stop button here. I am at quite a high height, but I really wanted to put this to its limit and see how well it performed. It simply just dropped out of the sky, but it didn't cause any damage because it's a pretty small drone and pretty lightweight, and it fell onto grass, so it didn't sustain any damage doing so. And of course, let's talk about the camera, which is pretty decent in this drone. Since the files save directly to a micro SD card that you put into the back of the drone, the quality of them is really not bad for the price point that this drone is at. It's not going to be amazing or blow you away, but for the cost and size of this drone, I really don't think they're too bad. You get some decent quality, they're not too fuzzy and blurry, and the shake is not as bad as I thought it would be. You often get a lot of jello in these sort of cameras, but there's not a lot in this, so I'm actually quite impressed with the camera. So far this drone has really impressed me in pretty much all fronts. My total flight time was about 7 minutes, which I think is respectable for a drone of this size. Of course, it would be nice to have a longer battery life. I would recommend picking up some extra batteries for this so you can have a little bit more fun. I think most manufacturers should aim for about a 10 to 15 minute flight time to have an enjoyable experience, but this is often a short point of most drones, so this is kind of to be expected. I have no problems recommending this drone. It's very well rounded, it has a really solid app, it's easy to control, it just works well across the board. So if you're thinking of picking up this drone, I would definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun to fly and easy to use. I really hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I hope it was helpful to you. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more videos like this one, and of course I will see you in the next one.